Hello traders, to another crypto market update. We've got a jam-packed video today. In this video, we're going to be going over two news topics. One's going to be a main one. Going to be discussing the 7 crypto firms targeted by 11 lawsuits. Very important topic of the day that occurred over the weekend. And then we also are going to quickly talk about a central bank digital currency that People's Bank of China is actually potentially developing. So first, we'll go over the crypto firms and then we'll go over the charts. Where do we get all our news sources? We have a Discord that is very active. We have a news section that has a Panda bot that posts relevant news topics involving cryptocurrencies every single day whenever it's posted on any major cryptocurrency related news page like Cointelegraph. You see some other things as well. So definitely go check it out if you are interested in being up to date with all things cryptocurrency. So first, let's start off with this post here. 7 crypto firms targeted by 11 lawsuits in New York. And it was posted April 5th, which was yesterday. Today's April 6th. So going to get a little bit of coffee and then we'll jump right into the charts, or right into the blog post here. Alright, 7 crypto companies have been targeted by 11 lawsuits that were filed in a New York federal court on April 3rd. The suits were filed by Roche Friedman, and this is the same law firm representing the estate of late Dave Kleiman in the ongoing dispute with self-proclaimed Satoshi Nakamoto, Craig Wright. So, Roche Friedman definitely has been in the crypto space before. As you can see, representing the estate of Dave Kleiman. And then we'll continue reading here. 11 lawsuits target 7 crypto companies. And there's some big players here that they're targeting. The 11 punitive class action suits named dozens of parties, including cryptocurrency exchanges Binance, KuCoin, Buybox, and BitMEX, and parent company HDR Global Trading Limited, and alleged crypto issue of Block One, which is kind of like EOS, QuantStamp, KDEX, Civic, B Protocol Status, and the Tron Foundation. And then they also named individual people. We can see many of the company's principals are named, including several leading figures in the crypto sector, such as CZ, which is the founder of Binance, Dan Larimer, which is, he is the CTO of EOS, Vinny Lingham, which is Vinny is the Civic founder, and then Brendan Ballmer is going to be the CEO of EOS or Block One. So some big heads here in the crypto sector, and they're targeting really almost everyone, as we can see, a significant portion of the companies that are big in the crypto space. So crypto firms accused of wholesale securities violation. So this is why they're actually getting targeted here. The lawsuit alleges that numerous exchanges have sold unlicensed securities without broker-dealer licensing and engaged in market manipulation. So for example, Binance has sold BNB, Binance Coin, which is so-called a utility token. It's not a security, but what they're accusing is that these are securities, and Binance, for example, is not a regulated broker-dealer. They can't sell securities to individuals, and this is what the lawsuit is pertaining. So the plaintiffs also argue that many token issuers selectively withheld information from investors to ensure that it would not be apparent the tokens comprise securities until well after the token sale. So basically what they're saying is, they tricked investors, they manipulated investors, so they wouldn't know, their securities until well after the token sale. So they presented it in a way that was different than what it actually is. So we can see Buybox token, BIX, EOS, BNT, SNT, QSP, KNC, TRX, FUN, ICX, OMG, Lend, ELF, Tomo, and Civic are among crypto assets that the plaintiffs argue comprise securities. So a lot of crypto companies here are under fire, and yeah, this is going to be pretty difficult for them because they have to put time, energy, resources into this case, and that energy and that money and all that focus is getting taken away somewhere else and put into into this lawsuit, obviously, which is not positive for them. Also, there's some FUD, there's some negativity going on here, which is obviously not positive for the entire crypto market because there's so many companies that are getting affected by this lawsuit. So, several non-US defendants will need to be served via the Hague Convention due to their location outside of the United States. Disruptions to the judicial system resulting from the COVID-19 panic will also have an impact. So yeah, a lot of companies are outside of the US. Malta is a common one. So how are these lawyers going to have to try to go after these companies when they're not even United States companies? They're in locations and countries that are a lot more welcoming to cryptocurrencies. So we'll see how it goes. They might not be able to target all of them because of their location, but I'm sure there will be some lawsuits that will be really targeted for them that may seem like an easier opportunity compared to some of the other corporations here. So we'll see how this goes. What's it going to be like, for example, BNB? We don't exactly know. If it does turn out to be a security, that's obviously something that Binance would have to pay a significant amount of money for a penalty, and that would hurt Binance's reputation as well as Binance's somewhat profitability in the short term, so then they wouldn't be able to put money into other projects. They also, like we've went over, purchased $400 million company, or estimated $400 million acquisition of CoinMarketCap. So then obviously they already have some funds taken out of their balance sheet in order to pay for that. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously we're still in the very early process of it, but could be something that is going to impact the price of some of these assets. So definitely something to be looking for. Quick little topic to finish off this news section of the crypto market update is going to be People's Bank of China continues CBDC, which is the central bank digital currency development talks. So I'm going to get some coffee and then we'll jump right into the discussion of China creating their own central bank digital currency. All right. The People's Bank of China held a teleconference on April 3rd in Beijing, China. One of the main points confirmed during the call involved the institution's continued research and development of a central bank digital currency, or a CBDC. Now, CBDC development is one of the bank's top priorities. Surprising, right? We already talked about the Fed creating their own potential Fed coin or central bank digital currency for them as well. So the meeting summarized the central bank's achievements with fiat currency, gold, silver, and securities since the end of 2019. Executives analyzed the bank's present challenges in depth, while acknowledging that their top priority for 2020 is continued research and development of a central bank digital currency. Very, very important that a lot of these central banks are actually not only looking into it, but developing their own CBDC, because I think this will be a very, very significant shift in the near term. We will see it, and this is going to be, in my opinion, very positive for cryptocurrencies in general, because if this does actually go through and central banks are starting to implement and use digital currencies, this will be a very easy on-ramp to have people understand how to use more decentralized cryptocurrencies, unlike the CBDC, which is very centralized. It's not a public ledger. Central banks are going to know everything about you, and you're not going to be able to see that public ledger. So it's kind of going away from what cryptocurrencies and blockchain was kind of supposed to do, give power to the people. Central bank digital currencies are kind of completely opposite. Central banks can print as much as they want, just like what they currently have with fiat currencies, and they can also see every transaction you have because it is now on a private ledger, and that's not something that, in my opinion, a true cryptocurrency / blockchain enthusiast would be excited about. So last thing, the Cointelegraph previously reported the People's Bank of China has completed basic function development for a digital yuan. This puts China one step closer to issuing CBDC. So yeah, there's definitely some talk, there's definitely some interest, but like I said before, as a person who values privacy, who values, not the government knowing everything about me, I do think that central bank digital currencies are something that we should be somewhat worried about. If they can see every single transaction, they can still print as much as they want. It's not like there is a fixed supply. It's not like there's a piece of code or protocol or algorithm that is going to be similar to Bitcoin, where there's going to be a steady flow of new BTC instead of basically a small group of individuals being able to control however much they want to print. There's no amount that is too much, too little. They can do whatever they want. But if you're looking at a more decentralized technology that allows a protocol to decide how much supply is going to be, then we're able to have a fixed supply that's able to basically hold the value over a long period of time. So definitely something to think about, but it is interesting to see these central bank digital currencies actually implement and try to use this new technology. And in my opinion, it's really, really validating the potential for blockchain, because if central banks are trying to use it, you know that this technology is going to have a major role in the next foreseeable decades that we're going to have in the future, and basically the future altogether, with supply chains, with medical, with central banks, with finance, with smart contracts, and the whole the ability to kind of take out lawyers, really. There's going to be some massive disruption, and this is just a part of it. Finance is just a small part of what blockchain could potentially do. So, very interesting topics for today. We're now going to get into the charts. My favorite part of the crypto market update is being able to analyze charts. So I'm going to get a little bit of coffee, and then we'll discuss all the things happening with Bitcoin, going over from large time frames to small, going over we already covered the monthly, but going over the weekly, daily, 4-hour, hour chart, and then we'll go over some of the alts as well, looking at the supply and demand of Bitcoin to end it off. So, going to get a little bit of coffee, and then we'll jump right into it. All right, so let's just look at the YouTube Live. Morning, everyone. Let's now go. Oh, also, if you're on TikTok or YouTube, if you have a question, feel free to ask the question. I will go over every single question at the end of the video, so stay tuned if you have a question and you'd like it answered. I will go over every single one before this live is complete. So, like always, this is a 1-hour chart, but we will go to larger time frames, looking at the weekly first, and then we will discuss the daily. So let's get our snip and discuss what's currently happening. So right now, what I see is there was an ascending triangle here, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen. Not a surprise there. And it looks like we have broken above the zone. The 4-hour has closed above this key level of resistance. So we do see a higher high formed, which in my opinion is the first initiation of the structure of a bullish momentum, seeing higher highs and higher lows. So we did have, let's just draw it out, an ascending triangle, and then we formed a higher high. We held the higher low, and that for me is enough validation for me to have a counter trend trade, a contrarian trade to my larger macro view, which is still a little bit bearish. Now, it's not going to be bearish as in we're going to go to $1,000, but it's bearish as in we need to build a more steady, more long-term foundation for the base of this consolidation. Right now, we only really see one low, and with other bases that we've held, like we saw in 2018, 2019, or the base that we saw after that massive drop from the $9,600 zone, like right here, or right here, or right here. A lot of these drops that Bitcoin has, there's going to be a base that forms, which is going to have at least 2-3 touches of a low. As we can see in 2018, 2019, it didn't reach all the way, but we saw a sharp move to the downside, a significant pullback, and then a slow fall, or a fade, what you would call in day trading, that you would see the price slowly move to the downside, and then you just wait for the buyers to slowly pick it back up like we saw here, and then that would basically be the completion of the fade. But that fade could yield a pretty great opportunity, really. So we are waiting for that last leg to the downside here, at least testing the lows. We're thinking, 58 as kind of as a medium. We could see wicks touch 5K, which would be somewhere around there. Would not be too surprising, but I think the 4-hour gives it a lot more clarity in terms of the price action. But on the weekly, looking at the large time frames, I do see that we're still in the squeeze, so we're not going to be looking for major bullish pushes, and we see a mid-range horizontal zone right here. So in my personal view, in the very large time frames, we're just in a massive symmetrical triangle, which is good in the long picture, but in the short picture, I think we could still be playing within this zone for basically almost the rest of the year here. We can see 2021 right around here, which is still within the apex of the price action. So we can't discount the idea that we could be in this massive symmetrical triangle for the large half of 2020 here, while the stock market is in just massive deflation, and obviously there's not a huge amount of interest in a risk-on speculative asset just yet. A lot of individuals and investors are now going from more volatile assets, equities, even people that are leveraged on gold and silver or crypto. They're getting out of that and going and fleeing to the US dollar, and the US dollar is seeing huge pumps in price right now. And it makes sense because it's going to be the more stable currency as of now, but I think the big shift is going to be turning for crypto and precious metals when you start to see the central banks overreact, and they've already said we're going to overreact. Overreaction worked out well in 2008, printing shit tons of money and dropping interest rates to zero. Worked really well, superbly in 2008, so we're just going to do more of it. We're going to put 3, 4, 5, 10 times more amount of stimulus in because it worked so well in 2008, and that's what they're going to do. And the shift, in my opinion, is going to be when CPI goes up, when inflation starts to increase. CPI is Consumer Price Index. It's going to be like how much cost is going to be a normal amount of groceries for an everyday person. Once you start to see that go up, and you start to see central banks print more and more money, you will start to see the psychology of the investors kind of think like, wow, they're really printing a shit ton of money, because like I said before, central banks will overreact. This isn't the worst of it. They will print more money. Inevitably, I think there will be some fear in investors who are holding US dollar thinking, holy shit, they just doubled the balance. They just doubled the amount of circulation supply. Like it's unfathomable how much money they're printing. So in my opinion, there will be some sort of reaction from investors holding the US dollar, and I think that's when we will see gold, silver, crypto really show us the ability of price appreciation that we're looking for. So yeah, that could go on for a little while here, but when that shift does inevitably come, I do think that that is when we should really be going heavy in crypto. But it's not time yet. In my opinion, it's not time yet. It is still a point where a lot of investors are looking at fiat currencies like the US dollar, or mainly the US dollar, because a lot of the other emerging crypto, a lot of the emerging currencies, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, euro, they're all going down in value compared to the US dollar because it is the world reserve currency. If you don't know too much about it, look up dollar milkshake theory, and it gives a little bit more validation as to why we could see the US dollar go up a little bit more before the massive breakdown. So a little bit of fundamental, larger macro view of Bitcoin and where it could possibly serve as an instrument in the global macro sense of where things are going. But right now, in my personal view, on the really large weekly chart and the monthly chart, we're still in a sideways consolidation, and we're not really fit to say, yes, this is a huge bull run that we're going to be on just yet. Yeah, we went up like, 80% or some crazy amount since the low when we hit 38, but at the end of the day, we're not even close to where we were at the high back in February, and this is, in my opinion, a potential pullback for a next move down, and it's just a matter of if we're going to hold the higher low or if we're going to break this ascending support, and we're going to have to figure out another way. It could be a descending zone, so we're forming a series of lower lows and lower highs, but at the end of the day, we're going to potentially see that zone drop to around 5K, around 55, somewhere around there. So that's going to be the large view of Bitcoin, and we are long right now, but that's going to be a short little trade that we're going to have here. So hopefully you guys understand the larger macro view that I see Bitcoin playing in here. I am very bullish when you're talking large time frames, but for the summer of 2020, I don't really expect BTC to just see a surge buy volume just yet. I think it's still too early for us to be calling this a bull run, in my personal view. Gonna get a little bit of coffee, and then we'll jump right into the daily chart here. All right, now going on to the daily. So we know that we got a symmetrical triangle. This is the support, this is the resistance, this is the mid-range zone. Hopefully you can see where we are within the weekly, because this is the resistance, this is the support, and we got a mid-range zone, resistance, support, mid-range zone. So hopefully you're able to understand where we are on the weekly, on the daily, because that gives a lot of context as to where we are on the large time frame. You always have to understand where we are on the large time frames, because that will give you perspective, which is very important. So when we're talking about the daily, we have a little bit more room now and kind of a better understanding as to why we think we're looking to go long. So as of right now, we have a large ascending triangle. We can see that right here. And we see that we got a wick to go above the zone on the 1 hour. It was a candle closure, and then we got a pull back. And then right at this zone, it was a symmetrical triangle with a nice squeeze. But I was more bullish on this squeeze. Why? Because we already had to move to the upside, breaking the previous market structure highs. So now we have a higher high. Excuse me. So market structure higher high, and then we see a low, a higher low, and now this is going to be a potential higher low. So we made the market structure higher high, the symmetrical triangle made the higher low, and then we made a bullish push to the upside, breaking the resistance, and it's just a matter of if we're going to hold this resistance to the upside and we're going to break the resistance, and if that's the case on the daily, I have a high degree of confidence that we'll make it at least to around 76, 77, just to this level of support right around here and level of resistance. And then we're probably going to slam back down. And we'll look at BNB, just an example of what we're going to be looking for within this zone right here. So just think ascending triangle breaking to the upside on the short term, but our bias is still bearish. So that's going to be the outlook that we're going to have within the markets. Quick look at the 4 hour to give you more perspective as to how we're actually going to be trading it. As of now, we basically reduced our risk to basically nothing. We do have a little bit of risk on with fees and everything, but at the end of the day, the risk reward is very skewed at this point, where we have very, 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 very little amount of risk, and our reward is maybe 10, 12% if we are counting from entry to 7,700, which is our key level of resistance. So in terms of risk reward, we're looking super favorable at this point. But the one thing I wanted to illustrate is what we're looking for, because we've talked about it, but it may be hard to conceptualize or understand or visualize mentally what we're looking for when we say ascending triangle break to the upside, failure to go higher, and then a slam back down. What does that mean? What does that look like? Well, BNB, which is Binance Coin, provides a perfect example of what we're looking for, right? So let's now go to BNB. We're still analyzing BTC, but we're trying to understand what we are looking for. Now, this is BNB, and this is the perfect example of what we're looking for, right? So let's get rid of all this because we don't really need it. We just need that horizontal zone that we're talking about. So let's go like this. And let's extend that a little bit more, and let's make it red. Okay, so this is the structure of the market that we're seeing within BTC in my view, right? So just look at this zone right here. What is this? This is a very nice ascending triangle pattern. But what do we see in the larger context of the market structure? It's right behind, or below a major support level. As we can see on BNB, this $21.20 level, $21.20, is a very key structural support in early March of 2020, as we can see. Now, all of February. March started right here. So all of February, it was a strong level of support. When we broke it, there was a gap here within the ascending triangle, which is right here, and where the key level of resistance is. So although there's not a huge amount of space where we're able to get in long from the entry to the take profit, there is still opportunity for long exposure in my personal view, right? From the resistance to the support. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Bitcoin. There's a potential for a gap to be filled from our current resistance of the ascending zone to the main structural resistance at 7,700 for Bitcoin, and it's 2,150 for BNB. But structurally, very similar. And then we get a push to the upside, pretty good move, and then we get a stall where we're getting a consolidation, previous support, new level of resistance. In my view, this is where I'm wanting to take the profit for Bitcoin. I'm not expecting a massive extension, nor do I want one. I'm wanting the huge move to happen on the downside where I'm able to get that short. But on the for the next couple days here, I do think that we could see some more bullish pressure to come into the market, so that's why I'm longing. But on the larger time frame, this is what I am expecting and what I'm planning for. So I am long because of this little push here. I'm not expecting a massive push to the upside. This is why I'm expecting a 2.4 risk reward. I'm not expecting a 3.5 or a 4. Those long extensions, those 4 risk reward extensions, are going to be for the continuation impulse push to the downside, where you're going to have those long extensions where you can really exaggerate those risk rewards, because the trend is on your side, the momentum is on your side, the market structure, everything is on your side to flow with the trade. But with this trade that we're currently in right now, it's going against the grain, it's going against the trend, it's going against really everything other than the small time frame structure that we see, which is a contrarian trade. When you're having these counter trend trades that you're not expecting a huge amount of profit for, you need to lower your position size because it's a lower probability situation. I mean, in my opinion, you need to lower the risk reward parameter to give you a higher dependability of that trade. So, normally we're looking for 3.5 risk reward 3. In this particular BTC trade, we lowered it to 2.4 because we don't ever know. We have a high degree of chance, and we are speculating that it's going to look something like a break to the upside and then a slam back down. So we're not expecting a long extension. What we're going to do is look for those high risk reward situations when we are actually moving back to the downside. So looking back at that trade, does that look like a possibility for you? Because in my opinion, that looks like a really high possibility for this potential trade. So we got to push the upside. We got a candle closure on the 4-hour, closing above the zone. As we can see, we got a pullback. We got our first little impulse move here, and now we're getting our second impulse move to then validate that this is a breakout, seeing forward candles close with 2 candles. So we're now held above the zone for over 8 hours here, or longer, for 12 hours here. So as of now, definitely called a breakout. We moved our stop loss basically right to break even. So now we have very little amount of risk on the table. So if it does get our last little push here, that's great. We took our risk reward, we took our profits, and we just got out of the trade. Very happy about it. And then we're going to wait for the next major move to the downside. That is going to be our trade setup, our trade outlook for this week and potentially even next week, depending on how fast this actually unravels. But in terms of the structure, in terms of the outlook for this week, next week, this is what I'm going to be looking for. So for every crypto market update, we're basically going to be sticking with this structure and bias until we see something else change. And what would be something that would invalidate our thesis for this trade setup? Well, number one is if we break the $7,700 zone and continue going. So if we break the $7,700 zone and continue going, that means we're now going to be on, let's talk about it here, the top half of the market structure. So right now, we're playing within the lower half, all right here. So I view the market as a large ascending triangle pattern because we're below the lower half of the symmetrical triangle, right? There's a perfect split here, right at the apex. So then if we do break the $7,700 zone, now we're going to be playing within this half, right? So, trading right in this zone, little bit less dependability because we're within the range. And then what we'd be looking for is more, sells at resistance and longs at support. Let's just get that again. So we're looking for shorts around this zone and longs potentially around this zone to continue the triangle formation. But yeah, we are playing within the zone, but we do have to understand that when we are playing within the middle of any consolidation, we're going to have lower dependability than when we're looking for shorts at the top or longs at the bottom. Just something to consider. So yeah, that's my outlook on Bitcoin. We went over the 1 hour. We went over basically the overall structure of what we're looking for, which is basically what we're wanting for longer term outlooks. And then the 1 hour is just to see the actual consolidation. We can see we broke well above the resistance that the symmetrical triangle was formed. We can see right here, little level of resistance. We can see rejections on 1, 2, 3, and we broke above, and now we're holding the previous level of resistance as a new level of support, and it looks like we could get a little nice move to the upside here. So the long is looking pretty good, but at the end of the day, like we said before, we are looking for that longer term bearish move to come in that we've been eyeing up for a very, very long time here. So let's just take out some of these trades because we don't really need them. Like that one we don't really need, that one we don't really need, the squeeze we don't really need that much. We're just looking at the overall structure of the market. We could even incorporate just this little zone right here. Let's make it white. And then this is going to be the new support zone like so. And this will be a new support zone here. So that's going to be the overall structure of the market that we're going to have. We could put this right at the 5K-ish zone around there. And we'll see how it goes. We're just still continuing to the upside here, and our long is still in play, and it's just a matter of until we see weakness, we're going to hold on, or until we see 7,700, we're going to hold on, and then hopefully by that time, we'll start to see weakness from the bulls, and then we'll be able to capture that nice short opportunity. So that is going to be my Bitcoin analysis. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got some value from it. We'll now go into the the supply and demand of Bitcoin just on the Bitfinex exchange on just margin trades. So obviously it's not going to tell us the entire supply demand of the entire market, but it's going to give us some idea of the speculation and the confidence from the buyers and sellers, at least on Bitfinex here. All right. Let's continue on with the analysis here. We got the bulls still not really able to get any buy volume here. We are seeing a potential a bottom here where we're seeing a series of lower lows get less low. So you see a low here, a lower low, lower low, lower low, but they're getting less aggressive. They're getting to a point where they're almost flattening. You can see like the big downtrend and it's sort of flattening. So if we see a flattening and then we potentially start to see kind of like this, where you see a flattening right here, consolidation. If we see some consolidation right here, and then you start to see a series of higher highs and higher lows, we could see that last final push to around 7,700, and you see a high, a lower high, a bit of a squeeze here from the shorts. And if we get a little bit of a dump here where there's going to be a lack of confidence from the shorts, because I was a bear as well. I did try to short the market, and I made good money on one of the trades, and I lost a little bit of money on another trade, but I was short for a little while. I flipped my bias because I was getting stuffed by the buyers because I was looking for shorts, and I changed my bias, and it looks like it's doing pretty well now. I basically have a risk-free trade, which is always a good thing. But yeah, it does look like we're basing, and it does look like we're moving down here. So the 4-hour chart for BTC does look a little bit more favorable for the bulls just on the margin trades on Bitfinex that were both longs and shorts, which is in confluence with our overall bias looking at the technicals. So it does look pretty good for our trade, but just remember that we're not long for very long. We're not perma bulls. We are trading the story of what the price action is trying to tell us, and we try to convey that story as clearly as we can to you. So that is the crypto, that is the Bitcoin update anyways. So hopefully you got some value from that. We're now going to be looking at the altcoins. Very similar structure on almost all of them. And you know, I think BNB provides a very clear view of what we're looking for. We're not looking for longs. We already have long exposure on Bitcoin. We're not looking to long more alts. No way. What we're looking for is for us to have patience, and for us to look at this trade, this BNB trade, and basically look to mimic it. So what are we looking for is this perfect trade right here. So we see not only the price break the horizontal zone of support, but also the ascending zone of support and retest it pretty well perfectly. And this is what we're looking for, an entry at that zone. You could even hold a risk above the recent high, and then 3-to-1 is right here, and then we can see we could do 3-to-1, 4-to-1, and this one obviously extended well down below, but you know, you're never going to know how far it's going to go. You could look at some supports here, but at the end of the day, I think Fibs could be a good way to do it, looking at how large the actual triangle is. 75% up. You know, you're looking at a massive decimation of market cap if you're actually going to go over and use that structure to then look for a potential opportunity to get a take profit. But I think this next move will be a significant one. So when we are going over all the altcoins, understand the bias that we're having on Bitcoin. So then that will give you more perspective and more of a good understanding of why we're looking to trade these alts the way we are. So, yeah, BNB is the first one. Basically, we're looking at this, right? We're looking for a move to the upside. We could even go to 16.1, but at the end of the day, we already are long Bitcoin, and we don't, in my opinion, I don't want any more exposure to the long side because the major market structure that we're looking for is still going to be short. This is just a small move to the upside that we're looking to capture a little bit of profit on. Link is going to be the next one. I did not enter this trade. This was last night. I was just looking and I'm like, oh, this is probably going to break to the upside because BTC broke to the upside. And we did hold that support looking on the 4-hour. Pretty well respected support, and we did get a nice little squeeze there. As we can see, this resistance was this trend line was a resistance for the squeeze. We broke to the upside. It was a cool 10% that we could have captured, but 10, 11%, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, I was contemplating. I'm like, should I enter it? Should I gain more exposure? And I didn't end up doing it because I'm being patient and waiting for that next trade, and I'm already making money on Bitcoin. So I'm pretty happy about it. March was a super good month, so I'm being patient and really waiting for this next move here. Because, you know, as a trader, I don't need to make money every single day. I really don't. I need to, what my job is literally just finding the best possible opportunities, the highest probability situations, and actually acting on them and then managing my trade. You know, I don't need to make money every single day. I need to follow my plan and execute. And the money will come as long as I execute properly. Different way of looking at trading, different way of actually psychologically thinking about trading. You know, your job, yes, it is to make money, but on the bigger scope of it, your job isn't really to make money. Your job is to follow your plan, take action when you need to, and don't take action when you don't need to, and be disciplined. Be as disciplined as you can. Be literally like a robot in terms of your actions, and that is what your job is, and the money will follow. So yeah, a little bit of psychology, but that is going to be the outlook for Link. Not, you know, if we do get a pullback here, that could be an option for a potential, but I think at this point it's a little bit late to the game. We do see a nice level of support, which is right around here. Very key zone for the price. So if we do see the price come back down here, it's a pretty well prime area for a zone of confluence. Why is it? Well, I'm sure you can see, but we see an ascending zone, anchor point. We see 1, 2, see a little zone right here, 3. So then there's going to be a zone of confluence for the support right there. Horizontal zone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Horizontal zone of support, and then we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 descending zone. So a very strong level of support at around $2.35 ish. So if the price does come back there, that could be an opportunity for a long. But like I said before, this is a counter trend trade, and you should be all right with being able to flip, meaning you'll go from long to short if you're looking to enter right here. And if it does actually fail to hit this high, and if it starts to weaken, you should be all right with being able to flip and look for a short opportunity if it does break this ascending zone. Because in my opinion, the short is going to be a higher probability, more a higher dependability, better risk reward situation for a trader, in my personal view. So yeah, that's going to be link. Not a whole lot more to add on that. XRP, ascending zone, very, very significant break. This is still the 4 hour, so we haven't fully seen this close yet, but if it does close, that's going to be a pretty big move because this is an ascending zone that is respected quite well, and it could be the final blow off top before we get our bearish move in, and that could be the slam back down. So yeah, very similar outlook on the larger time frames for XRP as to Link and BNB. We're just looking for our shorts because we already have long exposure on Bitcoin. We already are exposed to the long side. If the entire crypto market goes up, if Bitcoin goes up, a lot of these other alts will continue to go up. So in my personal view, I'm already making money when the market's going up. So the only reason for me to add to my long position is if I want to make more money. But if I'm adding to any position, I have to take on risk. I can't put on a position and have my stop loss one tick below because I'll probably get stopped out, and that's just a waste of trading fees and commissions and all that stuff. So I need to put more risk on if I want to put more size. And at this point in time, I'm comfortable with my size. I'm comfortable with my profits. If I go up to 76, 77, it's going to be a good trade. It's not going to be a phenomenal profit or anything, but for a counter trend trade, it's looking pretty favorable. And then I'll just patiently wait until the market presents me with an opportunity that is able to get me a little bit more edge in the market. So yeah, we're going to be looking for that for XRP. Ethereum did very, very well after the ascending zone breakout here. Strong push to the upside. And let's just extend this a little bit more. Yeah, not much to add. Once the 4 hour closed above 145, it was just a strong 8 hour push here. 9%. So for any momentum traders, pretty good opportunity to enter long right there. Like I said before, I'm happy with BTC. As a trader, you're going to look at things and say, wow, that's a good trade. You are not going to trade every single thing that looked good. If you are, you're either not going outside and staring at the charts for literally 24 hours a day, or you're over trading. So you don't need to trade every single trade. You don't need to take every single trade, especially if Bitcoin is doing something, all the alts will do something similar. So you don't need to trade every single alt, you just need to trade the highest probability one. But anyways, Ethereum looks good. Next level of confluence is 180. So if we do see a continuation pattern, that could be a possibility. But like I said before, the next big opportunity in my personal view is going to be that short to the downside. So BNB is looking good. Link is looking good. XRP is looking phenomenal. Ethereum, not as much. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. EOS is another strong push to the upside here. Once that 4 hour candle closed above that zone, the bulls really took charge and drove that price up. But like I said before, we're waiting on that pullback here. And if it never comes, that is all right. Our bias will change when it breaks a major level of resistance. It's not like we will have our bias forever, but as of now, our bias and our structure is still very well in place. So we don't want to have these tiny pushes change our bias, because looking at the larger time frame is what's going to give you the proper perception and perspective of the market, in my view. Smaller time frames is great, but the larger weekly, monthly, daily will give you the larger perspective that you need, in my personal view. Obviously, if you're day trading, scalping, very different, but if you're a short-term swing trader that likes to catch the meat of the moves, in my view, larger time frames is a key time frame that you should be looking at. So yeah, EOS is a good opportunity in my view, but I think it's a little late for a long. We caught that BTC trade. We're very happy with it. Some of our students already caught some Ethereum trades, so I love seeing and hearing students take trades that I didn't take, because that means that they're doing their own analysis. They are thinking critically about the opportunities that the market presents for themselves. And, seeing people make money from that is very, very rewarding for me as a person who's trying to teach. So, for those people who profited from this move, who were a little bit more bullish bias due to the squeeze on BTC, great move, and congratulations. So that is going to be the completion of the crypto market update. We will go over all questions within TikTok and YouTube. So stay tuned for that. But for now, that is completion of the crypto market updates. We did some good news stories, and then we finished off with a lot of charting, looking at large time frames for BTC, what our biases are for this week and next week, probably depending on how fast the market moves. But at the end of the day, yeah, that is our view of the market. So hopefully you got some knowledge, value, entertainment, something out of it. If you did, it would be greatly appreciated if you did subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that helps us grow and produce more content like this. So yeah, I'll close off the crypto market update, but I will keep the YouTube live and the TikTok live going. For any questions that you have, I will answer every single one. And as long as it's like, I don't know, like what shoes you're like, I'm not going to answer stupid questions, but if it's related to what we're talking about, 100% I will try to answer to the best of my ability. So thank you very much for everyone on the YouTube who watched in the recording, and I'll close off the crypto market update now. So until next time, everyone, which is going to be later on today when we do the global macro update, which is another video that we're going to be going over news and TA and charts, but for more of the global macro, looking at gold, silver, S&P, more economic stuff. That will be later on today. So if you find that interesting, definitely check it out. But until next time, happy trading, everyone.